Nerd reactor, roll out.
What's up, everybody? John here, and it's time to talk about The Boogeyman. This movie is directed by Rob Savage, and this is based on a short story by Stephen King. And this follows a family, a father, daughter, two daughters, living in a household, and something creepy is inside there. The Boogeyman. Is it underneath the bed? This movie, The Boogeyman, stars Sophie Thatcher. She's the oldest daughter, and you have Chris Messina, who plays the father, and you have Vivian Lyra Blair. She plays the youngest daughter, and you also have David Mastauchian. And yeah, with this movie, I was tense like throughout. Like, it was very creepy, and it was like just setting the mood. And so there are like a lot of just eerie moments, and I was like, I don't want to see what happens. Like, there weren't parts where I'm like truly terrified, but it's just a feeling of just dread that just creeps up on you. And I'm like, oh man, this movie I think did a really fun job of just keeping you just on the tip of your toes and on the edge of your seats with just the boogeyman, whether it's coming out or not. And so, yeah, with this movie, I really enjoyed just the casting, the cast of the father and the two daughters, and just making you feel for them and just care about them. Like a little taste. Like, you really get to see more, like especially Sophie, her character, where you're following her to school, high school, and you're seeing how she's behaving or how she's dealing with the aftermath of her mother's passing. With the mother's passing, that's like an anchor, something that the boogeyman can latch onto to scare. And so you follow the story, you see how her friends, how they treat her, and so she's really dealing with all this trauma. And when you add in elements like the boogeyman to come and attack her and her family, it just adds for more stress. And for me, at least, it worked because I care about the character. It's like, man, a lot of crappy things are happening to her, and now you have the boogeyman. And then you have Vivian playing the youngest daughter, and so she's really adorable in this. And just that the typical just kid, just on the bed, in the bedroom, afraid of the monster. So she's asking her dad, like, can you close the door? Can you check the closet to make sure there's no monsters or, underneath the bed? But yeah, just having like a kid, just being in a horror movie, it just adds for that extra fear. I was like, oh man, this compared to like an adult, because kids are more innocent and they're smaller, so they can't really defend themselves against creatures, but the adults also can't defend themselves against creatures. But there's just more of that innocence to it for kids when you're watching them in a horror movie, so you're like fearful for them. So with this, Rob Savage and his team, I think just really did a good job of just making you feel tense throughout the whole film, especially with just the way that things are shot and lighting. And this family just doesn't like light because there's a lot of darkness in the household. And with the use of lighting, especially when there's like something creepy around, I really like one scene where there's like a video game, like one of the Vivian, her character, when she's playing a video game, the lights are off, but the TV is on, and there's a part where it just flashes, and so you look through the screen, the TV, and you start seeing something, and it just gave me goosebumps for that scene, and just how they play around with that, with the scene. It's like a lot of fun, but it's very tense, and yeah, it just gave me like goosebumps on like, oh, what's gonna happen next? What's the boogeyman gonna do? Especially with it's just seeing the layout of the room that she's in. And another thing I like is I do like the sibling dynamic with the older sister and the younger sister. So there's a part where they kind of, one doesn't really trust the other, but then you're rooting for them, like, come on, just trust each other, or trust the younger sister so that you can start figuring things out, because there is a boogeyman in the house. And once you figure things out, work together, then you can start dealing with it. And another thing that I like about this movie is that it really tries to hide the boogeyman. In the end, you're in typical movie fashion, you're gonna see the boogeyman but it kind of like sets things up where at the beginning, the first act, it's like, is there something there? And it's like a slight tease, a little hint here and there. And then the second act is when you start kind of really seeing it, and you're not sure what you're seeing, but it's there. And the darkness plays a big role in this. And then in the third act, that's when things start to unleash. So it just really reminds me of just other movies like Jurassic Park and how Steven Spielberg sets up shots with revealing the dinosaurs, where it's a tease in the first act, and in the second act, you start showing the dinosaurs, and then the third, they go all out. So it's just mayhem. But this one just pulls back things even more, and so you don't really get to see things until way at the end. But yeah, the movie, like, I enjoyed the just the pacing and just the way things are just tense throughout, the scariness. I care about the characters, the family, like the solid casting choice. And this is a simple story of just a family dealing with the boogeyman in the darkness. So I wish there was like a little bit more to like some of the characters. For example, Chris's character, the father, they really set him up in the first act, kind of like a major player, because it's talking about his grief, how he's dealing with the passing of his wife. And then in the second act and then third act, his role is just put on the sideline to focus more on Sophie's character. But yeah, I just wish that there was just a little bit more for Chris's character, because I felt like his arc is also compelling. I want to see what happens, how he deals with it. Like, I would rather have it's parallel with Sophie's at the same time, back to back, just to see just more of that. But I guess with this one, they just want to focus more on Sophie and her story. Her going to high school, dealing with bullies, dealing with her friends, and dealing with her trying to deal with the passing of her mother. So as long as you know what you're expecting when you're watching this movie, that it's just this simple tale, just this family, more focus on the oldest daughter, Sophie's character, dealing with her life with high school, and then also with the boogeyman, and then you'll know what you're going to be in for this film. But yeah, overall, I enjoyed this movie. It was very tense from beginning to end, especially with the boogeyman, like what's going to show, how is it being done, and the way things are shot. So that really made me like just want to like watch it, but also not want to watch it, because I'm like, oh no, something scary is going to happen. And so yeah, those are my thoughts for the boogeyman. Let me know what your thoughts are on the comments below. With that said, I'm John, and I'll see you guys next time.